Hi, I'm Paul. It's been a while, but I'm back to talk about wristwatches. And today I'm going to talk about the top 5 most worn watches in my collection. Try saying that real fast. Let's get to it. Hey guys, girls, been a while, but I'm back with some more watch show and tell by Paul, and I'm Paul. Today's show and tell is about the wristwatches I wear the most often, my top 5 most worn watches. I've got a collection of 34 watches altogether. Out of those, there are some that I wear a lot, some that I wear less, and a couple that I hardly ever wear. For the past 2 years, I've logged which watch I wear every day on a website called Watch Crutch. So there's a record I can check. Now, of course, there are watches that I've had for years, and watches I've only had a few months. So some of the newer watches in my collection are really cool. I know I'm going to wear them a lot. So over time, my top 5 is going to change. But for now, it's these. Number 1 is a Seiko Diver. This watch is called the SKX 009. I bought it off of Amazon in 2014 when it was still in production. At the time, I think it was about 140 bucks. But shortly after, they quit making this watch. No one knows why. It's so popular. Today, you can find used ones on eBay and sites like that for quite a bit more. This is an automatic with a mechanical movement, but it's really a pretty basic watch. You can't hand wind it. To get it going, when it's been off your wrist for a while and it's stopped, you have to give it the old automatic watch waggle. Give it about 20 or 30 of these and put it on your wrist, and now the movement of your wrist throughout the day is going to keep it wound. You also can't hack it. A lot of watches, mechanical watches, you can pull the crown out 2 stops and the second hand will stop. You can position it at 0, stop it, find yourself a source for accurate time, an atomic clock website or whatever, and then push it in when you match up and you're ready to go at exactly 12 o'clock or whatever. But you can't hack this one, so you can never get it quite right on the money as far as time goes. But you know what it does? It is a real diver. It's got water resistance. It's good down to a couple hundred feet under the water. It's got a screw down crown to keep the water out of the insides of it. It's really actually a pretty good watch. And since I wear it so often, the red color on the bezel, as you can see, has kind of faded over time, but of course that gives it some character. It's got a solid case back. You can see I've got it on a quick release silicone strap. This watch came with a metal bracelet, which is weird to me for a diver, so I just felt that it needed to be on a silicone strap. Plus I like the comfort of a silicone strap. So that's my most worn watch. Seiko SKX 009. My next most worn watch is what people call a Seiko Pogue. This is a Seiko 6139 6005 speed timer from the 1970s. This particular one was made in 1977. I bought it brand new in early 1978. Back at that time, I was an Air Force lieutenant, and I was teaching new Air Force pilots to fly the T-37 jet trainer at Vance Air Force Base in Enid, Oklahoma. Now that's where I'd gone to pilot training a couple of years earlier. And the guys who taught me to fly back in 1974 had all come back from Vietnam with big Seikos of one kind or another. A lot of them wore this exact same watch. And I'd always vowed to myself that if I ever got good enough or whatever to get a fighter, I would get myself a watch like that. So in early 1978, the Air Force told me I was going to get to go fly the F-15 Eagle. I grabbed my wife Donna, we went straight to the BX at Vance Air Base, and she bought me this big Seiko. I wore this almost every day for a 24-year flying career with the Air Force. Sometime in the early 2000s, shortly after I retired, I foolishly wore it into the swimming pool and it stopped running. So it sat in a drawer. It sat in a drawer until 2022. And sometime during that period, one of the end links disappeared. The bracelet became disconnected and one of the end links had disappeared. So I sent the watch off to Total Watch Repair in Los Angeles, and they rebuilt it for me. It came back, of course, with the damaged bracelet, and I had to go to an outfit called Uncle. Uncle makes reproduction straps for watches like this, and I got a exact reproduction. Well, exact, except it doesn't have Seiko stamped on the clasp. But it looks just like it did when it was brand new. It runs great. I absolutely love this watch. I'm kind of surprised it's not my #1 most worn, actually, because I still wear it a lot. This is kind of a funky watch. They don't make them like this anymore. This, like the Seiko Diver I just showed you, you cannot hand wind this watch. If it runs down and stops, you have to give it the waggle again to get it going. But again, once it's on your wrist, your natural movement is going to keep it wound. You can set the time with the crown. You can pull it out one stop and you can set the time. But if you want to set the day and the date, that's a weird operation. What you do there is you push in hard twice on the crown to set the day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You push in a little bit lighter, just one stop, to set the day of the month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And of course, this starts the timing function. Hit it again, it stops the timing. Hit this, and it returns to 0. Pretty nifty watch. A little bit different than anything you see today. Of course, they call these things Pogues these days, and they're a real collector's item. They're named after NASA astronaut Bill Pogue, who wore one aboard Skylab back in the mid-1970s. But of course, when people were buying these new back in the 1970s, they weren't called Pogues yet. That came later. My third most worn watch is one of my newer ones. I've only had this watch since 2022. So you can tell I wear it a lot, because otherwise how could it be in the top 5? This is a Torgen. It's a pilot's watch, and it has an extra hour hand to indicate Greenwich Mean Time. I always wanted a GMT watch when I flew, because that's how you log your takeoff and landing times. Everything's in Zulu or GMT. And I always had to do those computations in my head. You know, they say you have to know a lot of math to be a pilot. That's not true. I can't do math at all. And, you know, adding plus 19 hours for when you're stationed over in Japan and you're trying to figure out what the heck time it is in Greenwich, England, that's beyond my powers. So anyway, now I finally have a GMT watch, and I really love this one. Torgen makes pilot watches. I should say made. Right now, I think the company Torgen is either bankrupt or on hiatus. I'm not really sure which. The parent company went bankrupt back in December of 2025, and that parent company also made Armatron watches, so all of that is in limbo right now, but I think they're going to come back and they're going to be selling watches again pretty soon. Anyway, I wanted this watch the minute I saw it. That big, bold design, very easy to read in a cockpit or anywhere else. Lovely solid case back with a cool little airplane design on it. And this came with a quick release leather strap, which I have it on. This is the original strap, although I do change straps on this one pretty frequently. Lovely watch. Absolutely love this watch. My fourth most worn watch is a Chinese watch built by a company called Pagani Design. Pagani Design? And they generally make homage watches, watches that look like far more expensive watches, usually Swiss watches. In this case, this is a homage to the Swiss-made Omega Speedmaster. That's the watch worn by the Apollo-era astronauts. And it's not an exact clone, but it's pretty close. And it's sold for a heck of a lot less than what it would cost me to buy an Omega. You know, I've got a couple of fancy watches in my collection, but I bought them years ago, and my days of paying thousands of dollars for a Breitling or whatever, those are long gone. I'm on a budget now like most retired people, so I do not mind having a Chinese-made homage watch, and this is really one of the better ones. Pagani Design Moonwatch, they call it. And you can see it's got a little space shuttle on the back. Nifty, nifty watch. This came also with a metal bracelet, which I replaced with a leather strap for comfort. This watch has, like the Torgen, it has a quartz movement. In this case, though, part of the movement is mechanical, so they call it a mecha quartz, actually. I think the basic timekeeping function is quartz, battery powered, should last for years. But when I use the chronograph function, that is mechanical. Oh, kind of an interesting way to make a watch. My fifth most worn watch looks a little bit like the Pogue I showed you earlier. This one is a limited edition Seiko from the year 2021. Back in late 2020, I read on a Seiko fan group or something that they were having a design competition. They turned it open to fans and customers of Seiko, and this is what they came up with. This is what won the competition. So they were going to build 2021 of these watches in the year 2021. You could get on a list to get one. I got on the list. When the time came, though, when you actually went to claim yours and pay for it at the Seiko website, I couldn't get anything to work. So I turned to a local jeweler here in Tucson, and they were able to snag me one of the last 100 built. This is watch number 1934 out of 2021. This watch, like the Seiko Diver I started my list off with, looks like a diver. It's got a diver style bezel on it, but it's not a diver. This watch has no water resistance whatsoever. The crown does not screw down, so water's going to go straight inside if you're foolish enough to go in the water with it. So it's not a diver. And unlike the Pogue, it's not a chronograph. It's just a straight timekeeping watch. Hours, minutes, seconds. It does have a day-date complication. It's actually a very nice automatic watch, and nicer than my Seiko Diver in that you can hand wind this watch in addition to, give it a motion. And you can also hack it. You pull the crown out 2 stops and the second hand stops, and you can hack it accurately. So it's a pretty nifty watch. I had it on a silicone strap for a while, but I was thinking not too long ago, this is a limited edition watch. They're reselling for a lot more than I paid for it, on eBay anyway. Maybe I ought to keep it in original condition, as original as possible. So it is back on the bracelet that it came with. These are my top 5. Like I said, the statistics will probably change over time. I'll be back to show you some more. Until then, have fun, folks. Bye-bye.